If you grew up in the Midwest, you've probably heard that engine note, rolling from one end of the field to the other. From 1940 to 1980, these tractors didn't just make crops, they made memories. Today, we're counting down 10 true legends. Each one is iconic, for a reason. And stay with me to number 1, because many farmers still call it the gold standard of a generation. Number 10, the Case 970 and 1070. If you farmed in the Midwest in the 1970s, you remember the feeling. The moment these tractors leaned into a load, they felt steady. They felt heavy. They felt planted. A good Case didn't dance around. It dug in. And that weight meant traction, real traction, the kind that kept you moving when the soil was tough and the job had to get done before the weather changed. The 970 and 1070 were born for hard work, pulling a plow, pulling a chisel, working heavy ground hour after hour. No flash, no fuss, just a machine focused on one thing, finishing the field. Farmers talk about them with a simple kind of respect, because they didn't need much attention to do their job. When a Case was right, it was the tractor you trusted on a long day, the one that starts and goes. No begging, no drama, and that's why these models fit the decade so well. In the 70s, farms got bigger, work got heavier, you needed power you could lean on, and a tractor that stayed calm under pressure. The Case 970 and 1070 became quiet heroes. Strong, dependable, built to pull. But if the Case is silent pulling power, the next tractor on our list is famous for something different. The way it works quick, clean, and surprisingly nimble in the rows. Number 9, the Minneapolis Moline U. For a lot of folks in the upper Midwest, Minneapolis Moline wasn't just a brand name. It felt like a hometown tractor. You'd see that familiar shape on small family farms, parked by the machine shed, or sitting near the barn after a long day. And even today, when people talk about the tractor we had growing up, a Minneapolis Moline is often part of that story. The U is easy to spot from a distance. It has that classic, old-time look that fits the era perfectly. Simple lines, a bold stance, and a presence that just looks right in a field. On camera, it carries an honest charm. It doesn't need fancy details to stand out. It just looks like work. What made the U special wasn't a spec sheet. It was the spirit behind it. These tractors ran hard, lasted long, and stayed in families for decades. Many were kept, not because they were the fastest or the strongest, but because they were trusted. It's the kind of tractor you remember by feel, how it sounded in the morning, how it pulled steady, how it became part of the rhythm of the farm. And that's the real value here. Talking about Minneapolis Moline is talking about land neighbors, in a time when farming leaned on grit, patience, and steady hands. But when it comes to a true, everybody had one tractor. The next machine on our list was even more common. You could find it almost anywhere. Number 8, the Ford 8N. The Ford 8N is a true symbol of practicality. It was not the biggest tractor on the farm, and it never tried to be. It was simply good enough, in the best way, reliable, useful, ready to work day after day. For many Midwest families, the 8N wasn't a showpiece. It was a tool you counted on, and what it did best were the everyday jobs that keep a farm running. Pulling a small wagon, dragging a blade down the driveway, cutting grass around the yard, working a garden patch, moving feed, clearing snow when winter came in hard. Even now, you can still find Ford 8Ns sitting behind sheds and in old barns, because owners never saw a reason to get rid of something. That still earns its keep. Part of the 8Ns magic is how friendly it feels. It's straightforward. It makes sense. A lot of people learned to drive on one because it didn't intimidate you. Dad could run it. Grandpa could run it. And once you were old enough, you could learn too. It became a family tractor in the truest sense. That's why the nostalgia runs deep. For many folks, the 8N was their first tractor ride, their first lesson, their first real taste of farm work. It's not just iron and paint. It's a memory machine. But if the Ford 8N is the picture of closeness and simplicity, the next tractor on our list is a true workhorse for row crop country, built to pull and hustle through the field. Number 7, the Allis-Chalmers WD. Allis-Chalmers always had a look of its own, and the WD proves it. Even from a distance, you can tell what it is. The shape, the stance, the way it sits on the ground. It has personality. In a lineup of classic tractors, the WD keeps the list from feeling all the same, because it brings a different flavor of Midwest history. But the WD wasn't just about style. It was made for row crop work, and that mattered in corn and soybean country. It's the kind of tractor that feels quick and handy, able to move through the field with a clean, controlled rhythm, on farms where time was always tight, especially during planting and cultivation. Flexibility was a big deal. The WD earned its place because it could work fast, work neat, and keep the day moving. There's also a reason mechanics and tinkerers remember the WD with a smile. Many owners will tell you, it was a tractor you could live with. Easy to get to, easy to adjust, easy to learn over time. After a few seasons, you didn't just operate it. You understood it. You knew the sounds it made when it was happy, and the little warnings it gave before something needed attention. That kind of relationship is what builds loyalty. And let's be honest, on camera, the WD looks good. It photographs well. It stands out. It instantly signals classic farm tractor, without needing an explanation. But when people talk about the most classic row crop tractors of all time, we have to go back to the name the Midwest once treated like its backbone. And that's coming up next. Number 6. The Farmall M. For a lot of Midwest farmers, the Farmall M was the moment you stepped up into the heavy class. Compared to many tractors of its time, it felt stronger, more serious, more confident when you asked it to do real work. The M wasn't made to look fancy. It was made to earn its keep. Out in the field, that mattered. The Midwest is row crop country, but it's also hard-working ground that demands steady power. The Farmall M became known for pulling plows, dragging harrows, working soil with the kind of dependability you could plan your day around. It was the tractor you hooked to a tough job and expected it to stay with you hour after hour, without losing heart. People remember it as a machine that still had strength left at the end of a long day. And then there's the part that's harder to measure, the sound and the stance, the way it sits on the ground, the way it talks when it's under load. For many folks, hearing a Farmall M running is like opening an old door in your mind. Suddenly you're back on a younger morning. You're watching a father or grandfather head out to the field, lunch pail on the fender, dust in the air, and a full day ahead. That's why so many Farmall MS became family tractors in the deepest sense. They were passed from father to son, not just because they worked, but because they never quit. The Farmall M earned trust, and trust becomes tradition. But if the Farmall M is remembered for strength, the next tractor is the more balanced brother, lighter on its feet, widely loved, and so common, it became a true legend. Number 5. The Farmall H. If you ask older Midwest farmers to name the tractor that showed up everywhere, the Farmall H is one of the first answers you'll hear. It was the backbone of countless farms, because it could do a little bit of everything, and it didn't demand a special kind of operator. You didn't have to be an expert to make it work. You just climbed on, pulled the throttle, and got to it. The H is row crop farming in its purest form. Compact, well-balanced, easy to handle, in the kind of work that filled most days in corn and soybean country. Cultivating, pulling smaller implements, running chores. This tractor fit the traditional Midwest rhythm. It wasn't trying to be the biggest machine in the county. It was trying to be the one that stayed useful season after season. A big reason it lasted is simple. It was simple. The Farmall H didn't have a lot of extra complications. That made it easier to maintain, easier to fix, and easier to keep running for decades. And when something did need attention, many owners could handle it themselves, right there in the shop, with basic tools and common sense. That kind of tractor earns loyalty fast. And the nostalgia around the H is everyday nostalgia. It's not the rarest tractor, or the flashiest. It's the one tied to the most memories, because it was the one that was always there. The tractor that carried the farm through regular days, not just the special ones. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The next tractor takes us straight into the two-cylinder empire, with an engine sound you can recognize with your eyes closed. Number 4. the John Deere Model B. For a lot of Midwest farms, the Deere B was the tractor you started with. Not too big, not too complicated, just the right size to learn on and grow with. It fit smaller acreages and tight budgets, but it still had enough heart to do real work. A lot of families remember it as the machine that helped them get through the years, when every gallon of fuel and every hour of daylight mattered. And of course, the Model B is part of something bigger, the legendary two-cylinder era. That engine rhythm is hard to explain if you've never heard it in person. It's not just noise, it's a heartbeat. Slow, steady, unmistakable. You hear it once, and years later, you can still picture the tractor coming down the lane, that sound rolling across the fields, like an old familiar song. The Deere B also earned a reputation for durability you could trust. Old Deere tough, built to run, built to last, and built in a way that let a lot of them survive far beyond what anyone expected. Even now, you'll find Model BS still starting, still moving, still doing light work, almost like they refuse to leave the farm. And there's a community story here, too. In many rural towns, the Deere B brings back the days when neighbors helped neighbors. Someone's tractor goes down, and another farmer says, "Take mine for an afternoon." The B was often the one that got shared, loaned, and relied on, because it was dependable and familiar. But if the Model B is already a true icon, the next tractor is the one that makes a lot of folks say, "Now that's real Deere." Number 3, the John Deere Model A. If the Model B was the tractor many farms began with, the Model A often felt like the next step up, the bigger brother with more pull, more presence, and a deeper place in Midwest memory. On a lot of family farms, the A wasn't just another tractor. It was the Deere you leaned on when the work got serious. And what people remember first is not a number on paper. It's the feeling, the sound of that two-cylinder beat, the smell of warm oil and fresh-cut dirt, the steady vibration in the seat and steering wheel as it settles into the job. Those little details can pull you back in time, in a heartbeat. Back to a morning when the sun was low, the rows were long, and the day was simple. Start the tractor and keep going. The Model A worked like an old friend. It didn't rush. It didn't pretend to be fancy. It just stayed steady from sunup to sundown. There's comfort in a tractor like that, one that feels calm, predictable, and honest. You learn its habits. You listen to its tone, and you trust it. And when a machine earns trust like that, it becomes part of the family story. That's why so many Model A's are still around. Some are restored and shown sure, but many are kept because they mean something. A Model A can be a grandfather's tractor, a father's first big machine, or a reminder of the years when a farm was built, one season at a time. For some families, keeping a Model A is like keeping a piece of home. And now, we move into the 1960s, when diesel power and modern muscle began to take over. The next tractor is often called the gold standard. Number 2, the John Deere 4020. For many Midwest farmers, the 4020 is the Deere that simply feels right. Not just for collecting, not just for looking at, but for working. It came along when American farming was changing fast, and it matched that moment with a kind of balanced strength people still admire today. You'll hear it said over and over. The 4020 was the standard for a new generation. What made it special was how much it could do without feeling overcomplicated. Strong diesel power for pulling heavy, but still handy enough for day-to-day jobs. One tractor that could move from field work to chores without a lot of drama. On many farms, the 4020 wasn't a backup. It was the main tractor, the one you trusted to show up every morning and carry the load. Planting, haying, harvest, and everything in between. And then there's the reputation. The 4020 is one of those tractors people warn you about in a simple way. Don't sell it too quick, because once it's gone, you miss it. Not just because it worked well, but because it worked in a way that felt dependable and familiar. It earned confidence. It built routine. It made long days feel a little more manageable. That's why the 4020 became more than equipment. In many rural communities, it became a symbol of a turning point. Farms grew. Technology improved. Diesel power took center stage. And the 4020 sits right in that story. It looks like progress, but it still feels like a tractor built for real people and real work. But number one is even more pure 1970s. A machine many Midwest farmers remember, by both its sound and its pulling power. Number one, the International Harvester 1066. If there is one tractor that carries the spirit of the 1970s, it's the 1066. This was the era when farms were expanding, fields were getting bigger, and the work was getting heavier. You needed a tractor that could handle long days and tough pulls without losing its nerve. The 1066 arrived at the right time, and it earned its place by doing exactly what farmers asked of it. The first thing many people remember is the presence. The 1066 has a strong stance, like it's ready before you even turn the key, and once it's running, you know it. The sound, the steady power, the way it seems to settle into a load. There's a feeling of confidence that comes with it. When you hooked the 1066 to heavy work, you didn't wonder if it could do it. You just watched it go to work. In the Midwest, there's also something personal about this tractor. For IH fans, the 1066 isn't just a machine. It's pride. It represents a golden stretch of time when International Harvester was a major force on American farms. You'll still hear people talk about the 1066 with loyalty in their voice, like they're talking about an old friend who never let them down. And the reason the 1066 is remembered so strongly is not just horsepower. It's the seasons tied to it. Early mornings, late evenings, dust in the air, hands sore from a long week, and the tractor's still showing up, steady and ready. The 1066 became part of real harvest stories, real weather battles, and real family memories. And the best part is this: every farm can have a different number one. Those tractors from 1940 to 1980 didn't just raise crops. They preserved a whole era. Some were steady workhorses that never quit. Some became the new standard when farming changed. And some are remembered for one simple reason: they were part of the family. Now it's your turn. If you grew up in the Midwest, did your farm have one of these machines? Or is there a tractor you believe deserves a spot in the top 10? Leave a comment below. I read every story because those memories are the real history.